We almost forgot that. Let me go ahead and get up the radio thing so we know for sure it's going to record to have that playback for us. Okay, all right. So, awesome. We want to make sure we recognize, and we will in the, as we get through it in the agenda, we've got Susan on Miami, we've got Drew and Brian on Elkhart, and I'm Christine on Gibson County. And so let's go ahead, get this call going. This is Sunday, the 2nd of March of 2025, and the Indiana General Assembly is in session, and we want to go ahead and take a moment now to give a moment of prayer to our Creator. Source God, we are grateful to be here in these days, standing firm in your truth. We come to you in our own divine expression of your grace and mercy through the name of Yeshua the Christ. We come to you this evening to ask your divine protection over our house. Bring forth your peace, love towards each other so that we can be able to move forward and be able to protect ourselves from all those slings and arrows that are being poised against us. Please, Father, give us the strength to be able to walk through and all these battles so that we can create the assembly home that you have designed and wanted and envisioned for us here on Indiana. We welcome you to this call with us, Father, as we know that nothing is possible without you. So we want to make sure that you're involved in all ways. In your most holy and precious name we praise you. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so let's go ahead. We've got the recording going. We've got the pre-conference call radio thing going. Again, as anybody, I see others have come in the call, go ahead and put your name and county in the chat, or you can go ahead and give us a hello if you wanted to as well. If you're on your phone, it's *6 to mute and unmute. Because I notice we have others in the call. Go ahead if you would. Let us know that you're here so we can make sure and recognize you. We'll get this going here. Got to get all this in the chat because I got to also make sure and remember afterwards to copy and paste the chat into the meeting agenda so that we have it available. Again, let's see. Where'd you go? There we go. Okay. Oh, here we go. Wayne and Terry on Miami. Welcome. So, see, Susan, there you go. There's others on Miami there with you as well. We've got Susan. We've got Wayne and Terry also on Miami. I'm taking my notes, so please bear with me. All right, and we're still getting. And Susan, you got into where you can do the chat. Awesome, because then you'll also be able to see the video for screen share and that kind of stuff. All right, let me get this going, and I will then. You're welcome, dear. We're glad that you were able to be able to join us. Hopefully, this time will work better for everyone to be able to come to the table. All right, let's finish getting all the housekeeping stuff put in here. Da-da-da-da. This is the last one, then we can have the audio of it. Okay, so now we are looking for our marshal at arms. We have, there are 33 states that have their marshal at arms in place, and we need to get our marshal at arms in place as well. And this would be one of the things that the marshal at arms would do as well. This meeting is private to all ASNs or ASCs and those invited. The Bivens Declaration is in effect. It is the responsibility of each man or woman to announce their presence per the Bivens Declaration. It is also the responsibility of each man or woman to identify and know the classic signs of agent provocateurs and infiltrators. This important information is posted in the meeting chat. And then, and we went through I've got it in the chat that this meeting is private to all members and all those invited. Bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner. To eliminate all conflict and false allegations, is there anyone in attendance at today's meeting who is here under false pretenses? Is there anyone in attendance who is working for any foreign corporation, including the municipal or territorial United States? Is there any member or agent of any law enforcement agency or public agency at the federal, state, city, county, or township agencies present at today's meeting? Is there anyone in attendance at today's meeting who is being coerced or paid to be here? And if so, must disclose their presence and purpose now or leave the premises. Is there any response to the Bivens decision? All right. Yes, go ahead.
This one always confused me with me still being a school bus driver. How do I answer those questions, if at all?
Well, you still are going to reply. You'll just put a comment, or you're online. So you're on the phone. So you're a bus driver, so now you've let everybody know. And that's all you need to do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, dear. And that was Brian, who's on Elkhart. He's been with us for a while, so we want to make sure that, because he is a school bus driver, but he is part of this too, right? And hopefully, he'll be able to work through some things to be able to sort that out. Not that being a bus driver isn't important, but, it's how to be able to work through things, right? I do have here, hopefully the screen share is going here. So if you did want to know why that Bivens declaration is given at the beginning of the calls, here is the court case relative to it, Bivens versus 6 unknown agents, 403 U.S. 38, 1971. And there's links in there as well. And after the assembly call, the minutes and the recording will be posted. It's not going to be right after the call because my husband will be getting ready for work, so I've got to finish up with him before he heads out, and then I'll be uploading it right afterwards. All right, we have our disclaimers. We are engaged in the practice of self-government. Everyone here is volunteering their precious time and skill. Each one is an American with rights and prerogatives equal to your own. They are doing this work out of mutual necessity to restore the lawful American government. Demands for services, temper tantrums, and misplaced anger are inappropriate. This country does not belong to its government. This country belongs to the people who live here, and you are one of them. And we want to make sure that we hold firm to honest challenge of to teach yourself not to lie. Be truly fearless. That's the heart. Once we can master not lying to ourselves, we'll also not lie to others, nor will we allow others to lie to us. All right. As we stated in the beginning, it's very important that you know what the signs of agent provocateurs and infiltrators are. And then there are those that are so deeply indoctrinated that they don't realize that they're actually behaving in this way. It becomes a cognitive dissonance that they don't even see how they're behaving is actually looks like, even though they may not have any connection to any kind of being in any kind of spy ring or being an agent of any sort. It's because of how they're behaving. They're so indoctrinated that they don't realize what that looks like, how that appears, how does it come across to others. So we want to keep those things in mind, and a lot of that is because with everybody being put out and memory, the goldfish memory and everything for that indoctrination. So, definition of agent provocateur: one employed to associate with suspected persons and by pretending sympathy with their aims to incite them to some incriminating action. Because, of course, they try to get others to do it, because in that way they can say, I didn't have to do that, was them. And, of course, they have an example that leads with the government used agent provocateurs to try to undermine the opposition party. And that's what it's become known to be for how governments treat even their own people. Then we have the word infiltrator. It's a noun. There's also informer, stool pigeon, counter spy, double agent, sleeper, spy master, super spy, courier, agent, asset, and you can see all the words. Then there's also those lurkers. There are those that they love to sit on a call, but say nothing, bring nothing to the table and then when you say, okay, well, what can you offer? Oh, I can't do that. I'm not available to do that. But yet, as soon as they see something wrong, they're right there to make sure that they're on top of saying, well, I'm making sure that you get this right. Where they're doing nothing else but just instead of trying to actually come to the table and work together so we can make a difference and make a change, they're there to look for problems. And that's part of that deep indoctrination. So what are the classic signs? Now this article has been out. It's called Warning Signs of Infiltrators. This article was written, I think, even before I became coordinator. So this was already something we were already seeing through the assemblies, and a lot of these have been experienced here. Not all of them, but there have been some, and of course the key ones. Attack the leaders, coordinator, Anna, James, because they want to say, well, that's not fair, this one, you should be able to let me do this because this says this, or, well, no, I don't like that coordinator, so I'm not going to follow what that coordinator has to say, even though the coordinator is the one here helping you. Or they want to say, well, Anna said this, when you actually go back to the recording or the article, they confuse some things. Do they come back with the apology? No, but as long as you're seeing okay, they've noticed and they're course correcting and they're moving forward, great, let's go. A lot of times they want to attack the paperwork and the assembly process. A lot of times it's the paperwork. It's well, you're asking for more things and you're asking more for more, and that's not what we're supposed to know. It's all the same documents. None of the documents for status correction has changed. It's been the same document since before I even connected with the assembly. So, nothing's changed in that aspect. But a lot of times they want to use that, and then they want to say, well, there's something, I've been left out. Although that's not true either. Wanting to attack any progress made by the assembly so far. Or wanting to try, and instead of helping to support the assembly make money, they're pushing to say, well, don't go to the assembly, you should go over here, go to the county recorder, and you should go over here to the Global Family Group, because the Global Family Group will help you, which the Global Family Group's primary responsibility is supposed to be with supporting the credit aspect. Okay, they're not for Indiana either. Are they supposed to be that primary recording secretary? Because a lot of people want to try and backdoor the assembly, thinking they're going to get their status correction be considered part of the assembly, but not talk to the assembly at all, because they don't, for whatever reason, they don't want to be a part of the assembly, but they want everything that comes with it, and that's still U.S. citizen behavior. They also want to try and divide and conquer, create all kinds of gossip and tell stories against each other, accuse others of things that they've actually been doing themselves. Or they, a lot of times they'll try. I've had many an email where someone's accused me of trying to say or do something when I just go back and copy and paste their own quotes right back from their email. Try again. So, and they forget that. They forget that they're literally telling on themselves in the process. All right, so there's more. Obviously, you can be able to read through that, but it's important that you know the different signs. We have our mission statement. This is the same mission statement across all the states, and the only difference is we put the home state in for whichever assembly it is for. Our Indian Assembly is dedicated to the restoration of the complete and fully operational land and soil jurisdiction, state and county court system serving the people of Indiana, the preservation of the national trust, the enforcement of the public law, the upholding of the federal constitution owed to our state and people, the repopulation of our land and soil jurisdiction, the filling of vacated public offices, and the reclamation of our material and intellectual public and private assets. To these ends, we, the living people of Indiana, have called the eligible Indiana nationals and citizen electors to assemble and to serve as jurors and officers, and we have established the process and procedure to qualify jurors and others competent to hold state citizenship and public office. We do this peacefully and without rancor in the exercise of our unincorporated powers and capacities. And many want to try to work in, but they don't want to follow all the same vetting processes as everybody else. No, there are standards that we're all following. It doesn't matter who you are. We have the same standards to follow. All right, let's go ahead, and in this portion, I've already got myself on Gibson. Let's see, we've got Elkhart, we have Brian and Drew, and on Miami we have Susan, Wayne, and Terry. Is that everyone? Is there anyone else on the call so I can make sure we get you in here? Okay. All right. Here are the assembly documents so that you can then, because as the General Assembly Handbook states, you still also have to present then documents to the Assembly stating you're wanting to actually participate with the Assembly. Okay, many are under the assumption, well, I've submitted my status card, you are a member of the Assembly. Yes. But many want to think that they're going to then step up into roles, but then not follow a process even. They just think, well, I've done it, let me just start now. Because they want this to be different. We all do want this to be different, but it's also, there's verbiage in the agreement that many, for some reason, they don't want to agree to. So that should be one of those red flags to say, well, why don't you want to agree? And you may read it and look at it, right? What's wrong with having a letter of intent to join the General Assembly? What's wrong with having that letter of intent and conduct of becoming an American state national, American state citizen? These are only, it's not like it's some kind of, it's not any kind of a contract that says you're going to perform these services and do this or do that, and this is going to be the, it's just none of that. All it's stating is how you're going to handle yourself and committing to your behaviors as to how you're going to present yourself. Then you have a choice to either be serve as a state national or as a state citizen, and then there are the member agreements for that. State national requires 2 assembly member witnesses. They can be a national or a citizen, and the state citizen has to have 2 citizen member witnesses to autograph with. All right, we have our reminders. Keep calm and get even article. We, the members of the Indiana Assembly, in order to ensure peaceful and orderly meetings, hereby establish the following protocols. All those wishing to speak to a topic wait their turn and let the prior speaker finish without interrupting. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes. If a topic can't be discussed in 3 minutes, it needs to be addressed in a committee setting or be set up as an agenda item prior to the meeting. All cussing, swear words, foul language, threats, and other inappropriate speech is not allowed here. This is a business organization, and we expect all members and guests to act in a business-like manner. You're responsible for keeping the peace and upholding the public law. Use common sense and self-governing. It's also that we're here to participate. It's not just to come and hang out for socializing. We're actually here to get some work done. So we have some of our old business. We still have the county notices that need to be sent out to the county sheriffs. There's only been a couple that I've heard from that have said that they sent the notices out to their county sheriff. Hadn't heard back yet as to any kind of response, but at this point in time, each man and woman can be sending the sheriff notice to their county sheriff stating that land law has been declared, and you're only sending to your sheriff, so don't get overzealous and start sending to other county sheriffs. You can only send to your county sheriff. I cannot send this notice on behalf of the Assembly. Anna has stated moving forward it has to be the Assembly chair that has to sign off and send these letters at this point. And I'm not an acting chair either, nor do I want to be, nor am I stepping up into any of acting as chair for this. I'm the coordinator and recording secretary. That's a large plate to fill. It needs to be someone else stepping up as Assembly chair, and they cannot be a federal person. They have to have all the contracts in order to be, and they have to be able to attend, actually be able to come to the Assembly calls, actually get involved. It's not just to show up and hang out every once in a while. We have to have that reminder of that you have to support the Assembly. It is your sweat equity, your finances, your money, your support. If you're still so leery about sending any money because everybody's quick to pay extra money for postage, everybody's quick to go pay extra money to the county recorder's office, everybody's quick to go to all these other outside doc prep places and everything, but where does the money come to support your home state assembly? It's of, by, and for the people. There are no employers taking out any money to force it, nor are there any IRS agents. If you want your assembly to be here, you have to be here for your assembly. We also need to deal with CERT training. This is Community Emergency Response Team. Whether you like FEMA or not, right now they are the ones that have that skill and training, and it is part of our responsibility, part of our Assembly Militia's responsibility is to handle these emergency responses within our communities, directly within our counties. We are the first help, and we need to know how to do it. Just because you don't like the people that are not actually providing that service, they still have the skills and can train you. Here is an option to be able to get that training. It's important if you would let the Assembly know so that we can start keeping track of who all has already have received some training so that we can start organizing our Assembly Militia so we can, make sure everyone's getting training, and those that don't have it, how we can be able to help and support them. Okay, this is about you got to communicate and not just sit around and wait for other things to happen. This is about stepping up, being grown-ups in this process, right? Here is it's a hybrid process where part of the training, the classroom portion of the training is online, and then it has where you can be able to contact a training to be able to do the physical training locally with you. And so you can click here. I've got a PDF that gives you step-by-step of how to be able to access it to be able to take that training. Here's also the Hive Drive link. It's a folder that has all the articles, information, templates that's relative to supporting you with if you have court issues, dealing with the Mochi process, if you're just wanting to inform the attorneys and doctors and all of them, you can still also share those notices. It is in that High Drive folder, as well as there are a few spreadsheets in there that list all State of Indiana incorporated DUNS numbers for all their pieces, and using those DUNS numbers are valuable on especially like with court cases and things like that, because you're putting it in their face that you are recognizing them as a corporation, therefore they don't have jurisdiction over you because they can only do business with other corporations. Okay. Now, assembly roles needing volunteers for elected and appointed roles. So I started listing some of the key ones right here because there are those that still aren't sure. We've got some that are still not wanting to give us any idea of what direction they want to go to help support the assembly. Okay, so you're at some point you'll have to look at it and start going through some things. Now, what I've done here, I've included a link to the document that's called the Call to Actual Public Office. Now, hopefully this should change for us so you can see a little bit in it here. So here is the Call to Actual Public Office. For example, the preface from Anna. Remember that we are a separate population occupying a separate jurisdiction, and our actual public offices have to be filled by the members of our assemblies who are state citizens and are public for the purposes of our public elections consist of the recorded state citizens and should be state nationals. We have our own separate world and our own elections, which is why we don't vote in their elections or participate in their political parties. Long ago, our public elections included all jurisdictions, but it hasn't been that way since the subcontractors incorporated at the end of the Civil War. Now, earlier this week, I had received an email that was asking, well, what's going on in all the job changes and everything going on with the de facto and everything? How does that involve us and that kind of thing? And here again, we're not the ones filling those roles. We are not the ones that are to make sure that they are hiring, firing, or moving people. What they're doing is not us. That is separate from us. Okay? Side note just for a moment, I see Wayne, you have a question. A certain notice that has to be used for what? For the sheriff's notice? The sheriff's notice is, that's that information. Yeah, sheriff's notice. When you go to theindianaassembly.org or athomeonindiana.org, when you go to, let's see, public record, just click public record itself. Okay? You've got, this is the sheriff's notice right here. This is the sheriff's notice. Notice to county sheriffs. You're going to print that. Okay? That's the notice. You're also going to print land and soil sheriffs this international public notice to send them. You can also send them this, so far as we are concerned, international public notice, land law, and we are the government. I don't think you need to put this one because this is more so about Hurricane Helene on that one. But you can include all of that to print with your notices to be able to send to your sheriff, and then send something with. Send a flag, right? Send a lapel pin flag. Send a big outdoor flag. Send some kind of a flag, okay? That's a peace flag to send with. Okay? Now, if you do want to go, you can just print that out. Make sure that on your, envelope that you're stating who you're from, as well as then you're just going to put, you can also just put autographed with your name. You don't need your thumbprint, and your Indiana, that you're on Indiana, from the Indiana Assembly. Okay, or you can just put member of the Indiana Assembly, something like that, right? No biggie. Doesn't have to be complicated. Okay? You don't have to get into, you can even put, Oh, good. He knows your personal. I'm good. You can even, in the Constitutional Enforcement Seminar, page 38, when you go to page, this I think is 38. Okay, when you go here to page 38, you can also share this page because it gives the details of how the order of the sheriffs go and LEOs. We're above the line. All this above the line is what we as land and soil jurisdiction bring forward. Everything below the line is relative to the two LEOs. Okay? So that is some added help that you can be able to give on that too. Okay? Okay, so there is support for the notices to the sheriffs. And again, and it, if you do end up having a conversation, or if you do get, mail, correspondence back of some sort, let us know, right? Let us know what you were able to, if you were able to bring forward anything, if they're interested in possibly standing up, they're welcome to present their 1779 two witness testimonies, birth certificate, and then they can still serve as the county sheriff. Then that's when we also get them to connect. They'll be connecting with Joe Hayes, our peacekeeper executive director, and our Area 4 postal chief would, or someone within the militia or within the peacekeepers would be connecting with that sheriff to start communicating on their level, right, in the language that they would understand, to be able to help them with that. So you don't have to get all into that knowledge with them. All right. So back to the call to actual public office. So this is going to be something that'll help you be able to see, here, like qualifying members. Oh, let's see, before we get to that. The state citizens who shoulder the responsibility of self-govern, the actual state government, are the only parties having authority and standing to enforce the constitutional guarantees. They are we the people who signed the constitutions. Okay? It means you have to actually stand up. You're gonna have to put some on the line. You're gonna have to put something on the line here. It's not many people that they put something on the line with the de facto. They've lost a lot of money. Some have even had jail issues and court issues and things like that. But that's a different kind of line that I'm talking about. Here, you got to put yourself on the line and do something that's of value to actually stand up to make it happen. Qualifying members. We need to qualify our jurors. The jurors are what are called the members, okay, which includes the documentation and declarations already discussed, a birth certificate or similar public or private record showing when and where the man or woman was born, 2 witnesses affirming the identity of General Assembly candidate, and again, minimum of 7 years. Some people want to try and pull, well, hey, he's my friend. He'll sign for me. And they just met yesterday. No, that's not how this works. It's a minimum of 7 years. Act of expatriation from territorial and municipal citizenship, acknowledgement, acceptance, and reconveyance, declaration of permanent domicile of our given names back to the land and soil of our respective states of the Union. That's another one where many are still slip into the verbiage of thinking that they're a resident. We're not residents. Residents are reserved for U.S. citizens. We're domiciled. Certificates of assumed name also remove their names back to permanent domicile on the land and soil, and a signed and witness mission statement. General Assembly membership agreement of the kind I provided as an example. And there's one in the General Assembly handbook, and that is the one that is for the National and Citizen Membership Agreement. This creates a record of the origin of the General Assembly member on American soil, a verification of their living identity by people who know them, and the rest of the documentation clearly demonstrates their intention to return home to the land and soil jurisdiction and operate in their unincorporated capacity as one of the people and not as a person. Okay, this package is necessary to prove that the juror is qualified to serve as a juror of the State General Assembly, that the juror is cognizant and freely choosing the capacity in which they are operating, which in turn validates the actions of the General Assembly as a whole. And that's the aspect for being a juror. We're all members, and then you got more steps dealing with the aspect for stepping up into an actual public office then. That's just for the juror aspect, which we have, Anna has given that there is a talesman process for those that do live on Indiana but had not presented any paperwork yet that would be able to, they still would have some vetting questions to go through, of course, but they would be able to be a part of the jury pool. But then as far as then moving now to the next level of actual public office. Okay, so this is where we've got to deal with, these are the core offices. We've got to get things going. Right now we've got to work at our state level. We do have counties that have quite a bit of people, but it's not going to do you a bit of good unless the state. It's not that we have to get everything in the state filled before any of the counties can start doing anything, but we've got to go. The counties are not going to be able to move forward until the state is actually standing, or until the state is in play as well. Okay, and then we can all stand together in one, but we've got to get the state going. A lot of people are quick to jump to their county level, but that county level it's going to help you at the county level, but it's not going to help you any further than only on your direct county, and still only going to help for those that actually stand up to support. Okay, there's a lot that want to see that there's others on their county. Well, that's great. But we need you all to come to the table to actually start doing the building, not just to come to socialize to see that there are others. So we have these are the roles we've got to focus on. State treasurer, and of course they're all going to be, with the exception of some of the roles, they don't have to be titled pro tem. But most do have to be titled pro tem until actually standing, like the treasurer, justices, judges, juror, the marshal at arms would be a pro tem, and right now that's where we're at with those. So we've got to get those moved, and then as soon as we are officially standing, then the man or woman that's in those roles, they have a choice. Do they want to continue moving forward in that role? If they do, then they would be then reelected, go through the election process with the assembly, and then the term pro tem is removed at that point. No, hold on. Cat's in the, hold on. Down. You're going to get in the mess. Okay. Apologize. Cat alert. Okay, so this just kind of breaks down, and you'll also notice a lot of the things in here we're going to need at the state level too, because we're going to have a core court system in play, as a state level court system in play as well. All right, so this breaks down. This also starts giving a little more detail as to what, what that role actually, some of the things that they actually do and what would be included in that. Okay, and recording secretaries would be greatly helpful. And And you can be just deal with your county if that's what is helpful for you, to be able to just support on your county if that's what's good for you for your time and the energy that you're able to be able to put with that. If you wanted to support with your county and just a few counties around you, or if you wanted like a portion, or if you wanted to help support statewide as that extra to be able to help buffer from that perspective too. Recording secretaries are always, always, always needed. Okay, so you can be able to see right now where the public notary is more so going to be once we get more involved with the getting the court in play. So you'll be able to see, get more information here from the different roles. All right. So I put that in for you. I've also put the link here that is for the General Assembly Handbook itself. Just also bear in mind that that was written that was compiled, but written prior to, but compiled in 2019. So that is being updated, but a lot of the information still applies. For example, we still need 15 white men. And this is not to be prejudiced. This is not to bring any kind of racism or anything into this or any gender. None of that. Because we're dealing with how it was in 1860s when they closed the doors, or when they stopped attending the assemblies. Okay? We have to think about going back to that period. We need those first 15 men that are citizens that have presented their documents, all the cancellation notices, to have that first vote to allow people of color and women to actively serve within the assembly. Still need that. Still waiting for those 15 men to step up to be able to do that. Now, I've got a list where I know that there's at least 12 white men that have presented all their documentation and the cancellation notices, but they have still not bothered to contact. Now, again, you have to be eligible as a state citizen. You can still be a national, but you still have to have all the documentation and the cancellation notices in that a state citizen has to bring forward to be able to do this first step. Then if you never do anything more, you would be at least in history that you were able to bring that first vote forward, right? Then if you did want to do more to support and help, obviously we can, be able to help keep you going, obviously. But it'll make a huge difference to be able to support getting things moving forward. And really, you should be wanting to step up to do this. It shouldn't have to be somebody beating down your door to say, can you please just do this? So here again are the core, what we can be able to do to start bringing together and filling the roles. And at some point, you have to actually step up and do it. You have to actually start talking. You have to actually get involved. Okay? Because if you're just sitting around doing nothing and you see things aren't getting done, how do you think it's going to help you? Because again, if you want your assembly to be here for you, you have to be here for your assembly. This is not the U.S. government. Okay? This is not where there's the U.S. citizen that is the biggest sloth in the world that lets everybody else handle the problems and then also tries to get everybody else to handle all the cleanup and responsibility too. This is about where we're grown-ups, we're able to come to the table, we're able to set aside personal feelings, whether we like someone or not, we're able to set aside our emotional issues so that we can come to the table and address the meat. It's not about parties because there are no sides to a family. Shouldn't be. We're all supposed to be coming together to the table to be able to bring this forward. That means you. So, again, I've got them listed here. There's not in any particular order, just giving some brief. You can go into the call to actual public office to get a little bit more as well. But these are key roles that we need to really focus on and work on right now. Very important. For example, Treasurer Pro Tem, there are 35 states online with the Prosperity Center. So while we're here in this moment of talking about the Prosperity Centers, Indiana is one of those, but it's not, we're not completely up and ready in a sense yet, okay? So when you go here to whatever page, go on the menu, Prosperity Union. Okay, here is the website that they've set up, but it's for that initial of going to get your information in to verify to them that you're a national so that you can get your accounts open. Okay, note that. Still keep your Shinola sensors on, right? Just because they have all of the support doesn't mean you actually need it for one. You may not, or you may. Another thing is to note, while there's a recording and publishing office, the Indiana Assembly is not using that as the primary publishing tool. You still have to go through the LRO, the Land Recording Office, for us to maintain our Assembly member record. You don't have to publish there unless you're going to get a credential. Then we have to have your 1779, 2 witness testimonies, and birth certificate in that LRO to be eligible for an ASN credential. But we still have to see your other documents that you have recorded and published on a public record somewhere. We have to have a copy for the state record and for the county's record. And until the counties have someone and a record keeper on their counties, at this point in time, the state is holding all state and county copies of records, which anyone that knows has any, old file cabinets they want to get rid of, they can be able to pass this way. If they're interested in supporting getting more file cabinets to be able to hold these records, Assembly needs it. But note that the Global Family Group is not, they are not the ones that are going to tell you that you have, that your status corrected for the Assembly. They're only going to verify you've got the 1779 2 witness testimonies, birth certificates, any other documents that you have uploaded, so that they can give you access to your credit. They're not the Assembly authority, just so you know. Many people, when an old system back when I first came in called the LRS, many wanted to try and go that way because it was a way to, it was backdooring the Assembly. It was a way of not getting support to the Assembly, as well as not informing the Assembly of how many actually are trying to status correct on Indiana. It was, anyway, it was offering a public record platform though. And many wanted to, some states were using that as one of their publishing tools. But we were not here on Indiana. So this is what we're running into, is that there are those that are trying to use the Global Family Group, that while they went to a public notary to get their documents notarized, and then they went to a county recorder's office, again, not in any way supporting their home state assembly, nor presenting the information to their assembly, but because the Global Family Group accepted their documents and opened their account to access to their credit and all their credit stuff, they assumed that they were fully status corrected and they were an Assembly member, and that they could just step up and start doing stuff with the Assembly and never talk to the Assembly once. So, things to think about. Right now, they're a recording and publishing office, yes, but they're not the verification for your Assembly. Still has to come through the Assembly. If you're going to get a credential, an ASN credential, you're not going to get a credential through the Global Family Group. To get an ASN credential is going to be through the LRO. And so here's about the information about working through this, but again, it will also tell you that you're going to have to realize that AFDs are not USDs. And there's a lot of companies out there because the U.S. has locked down companies here in the U.S. to think that they could only Thank you, Wayne. The credential card is awesome. Yeah, great. Yeah, because they've updated it as well. So we want to make, this is only for access. It's only to show that yes, you've done the bare minimum of status correction. It's giving you an extra place to be able to have a public recording of your documents, but at some point you still have to present to your assembly. It is not your official verification of because anybody can they'll at some point then they also still are going to look at the LRO to see that you have at some point created your member record that you've connected in. Okay, and you're going to have to start connecting with the companies that you like to do business with regularly and start talking to them. When are you going to be ready to start taking other forms of currency, foreign currency, and when are you going to be willing to use and accept a QR code for forms of payment? Walmart has started using a QR code process. You'll see it on all their scanners at their registers, but right now it's in testing of using the QR code process with their employees. Okay? But it is a process. But again, it's only with using the QR code process. It's still using U.S. dollar with Walmart. But at some point, they're going to have to end up starting to take other currency too, because there's not just the AFD. There's also all forms of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, things like that. So here's where we're at this point. And so far, there's been no training to Indiana as far as any more of what's going on here. Now, I could also add in here because we do need, because right now I'm the acting Sign in America coordinator, so we can at least get this to be able to help with this aspect. But we are needing an SIA coordinator, state level SIA coordinator, that have all the paperwork as a citizen. There would be a background check. That it also includes the financial aspect because you're dealing with money. It's not just a step up, and you cannot be a federal person to fill this role either. So we've got to, and then there's training from the Federation to be able to support that aspect as well. So that is another one that we need, and I'm going to make sure I get that added in so it'll be on the I can't guarantee I'll have it popped into this one for when I post it to the website, but I will do my best to be able to have it for the next agenda, so it'll be listed in there as well. All right. So those are and I went in a little more detail on the Marshal at Arms. We also need co-coordinators as well as pillar coordinators. If you're interested in being a General Assembly pillar coordinator, let's start as an example. That means then you would support, and you can also, we can do have more than one, so you can have a team. But taking the lead and actually connecting with people to start seating and filling the roles and getting people motivated and getting involved, and only focus then on the General Assembly aspect. Same with the General Assembly pillar, same with the Assembly Militia, and of course the International Business Assembly. And we can have more than one, you can have a team, but it's where that group or that man or woman is taking the lead, taking the initiative to start connecting with those that have status corrected and connecting with them and trying to work with them about getting them filled, getting the roles filled, and getting committees working and things like that. If you're interested, email records@theindianaassembly.org or just email me, statecord@theindianaassembly.org, and let me know, and we can get you started through the process. There is, of course, a background check, and you go to clearchecks.com for a basic background check. Unless you're doing like recording secretary, there's where you can add the finance credit check background with it. Also, we need vetting committee members that would be supporting with then going through once I as coordinator and recording secretaries have confirmed for them to then that they're eligible then to be able to step up on committees, then we need to be able to start training and supporting on getting a vetting process to be able to help that as well, which there is a process in play. We just have to have the vetting committee members that then would review the background check, review to make sure, again, that their documentation is there, even though it's been verified by the recording secretary coordinator, and then have conversations with them, do any extra background check they feel necessary, and then move forward with that. We had in the recordings on the Assembly website, we've got from past vetting committee calls that you can see the recordings. I think I've got them put, here. Let's see, all right, so I've got to get those put up. Or I couldn't do it because they're vetting. I couldn't put it as a public thing because there was some information. We can't do that that's why. But we have some that we can be able to, as we create a committee, then we can be able to have a link to be able to go to their info, and that's where then they would provide information to keep the assembly updated from the website, as well as then keeping the assembly as a whole updated through the assembly calls. Okay, so that was just a few things, but we have had a vetting committee for a little while, but then many just were not wanting, they want to be a part, but not really a part. Someone has for their name is At Home on Indiana. Who would that be? And they're asking about Drew on Elkhart if they're in the call. Well, I'd like to know who that. Oh, Brian. Okay, Brian, you should put Brian there, because that's misleading. Because the assembly info is At Home on Indiana, so that's misleading to think that would be me asking.
All I saw was whatever, and I didn't even know that was going to come up that way. I apologize.
Oh, it's okay. If you do in the chat, it'll say two, and then it has a blue box. It'll say everyone, and then there's a drop down, and then you can select to do a private chat to select whoever it is you're wanting to. That's if they're in the chat thing. If they're ones that are just on a call and not in the chat, they're not going to be able to see their chat. Just so you know how that works. Okay. Okay. All right. So here's the chart so far of how the counties are going. All those in yellow, someone has at least presented an email that they want more information on that county, at the bare minimum. but no one has status corrected on the counties in yellow. The counties in red, at least one has the bare minimum of status correcting on that county. And the counties in green have at least 2 that have status corrected. That means that they're live, or 2 or more are gathered, and they can start working with their county. Just again, remember, there are some things, just as a reminder, federal persons are not eligible to be able to support in doing. You may want to try and take a lead and initiative on doing some things, but you're not going to be in that kind of position to be able to make those kind of leads. Okay? So just make sure and keep that in mind. All right? So here's where we're at on the counties. There's so we can be able to see, and I've broken down by the counties how many have at least the bare minimum. It doesn't mean that they have provided all their canceled contracts or anything like that, but they've at least presented the bare minimum for status correction. Okay? All right. So, we've got these 3 articles that I really wanted to get a brief run through. Go ahead. Was somebody going to say something? Okay. All right. Organizational goals for state assemblies. And again, if you're on your cell phone, it's *6 to mute. Okay, organizational goals for state assembly. Now, this is an older article, 2905, but it's something we're still trying to work through, okay, of things that are needed. Outreach and recruitment. And it's also coming to the assembly with, or even, just even messaging records at theindianassembly.org saying, yeah, I've been talking to more people, I'm trying to get more information out, these are the results that I'm coming up with, and we should start seeing people coming, right? Again, this is a whole grassroots, feet on the ground, boots on the ground. You got to actually do this. There is no services out there that's going to miraculously make these things happen for us. It's us rolling up our sleeves and getting the work done. We've got to help people to understand and navigate the paperwork and record it. A lot of people, they're quick to fill in a form. Just fill in the form, and they have no idea what the paperwork means. And then it's I always try to tell people in recording calls that I have with them, to say that, okay, now that we've done this, now read it with your personal information in it. Read it out loud. You may have to read it 15, 20, 30 times, especially that certificate of assumed name. It's powerful. It is a powerful tool. You should know what's in your documents. You've put your name to it. Help people join and participate in the assembly as either a state national or state citizen. And that means we actually help people to join and participate. It's not just about, hey, you need to get over there and get your paperwork so you can tap into the credit. I let them know that they're going to come over there, they're going to get their paperwork done, because they're coming to get their credit. Okay, well, that's great. That's part of this. But none of this is going to support you if you're not supporting it. Set up the 4 parts of a state assembly. Everyone belongs to and participate in the General Assembly. And that's dealing with in-state and local issues. State citizens only for the International Business Assembly, and they decide on international issues. That's issues relative from state to state, or if other countries were to try and get involved, that's trying to go state to state. They can't, shouldn't, but that's where infiltrators try and come in. And that's where you have to have those that are citizens that have the standing and will also have the wherewithal within them to be able to say, oh, no, I'm not going to be a part, we're not going to be a part of this. That's not good for Indiana. Or that is good for Indiana, and be there then to help support it. Everyone serves as a juror and is a member of the jury pool as a part of the General Assembly. State nationals and state citizens are both eligible to decide cases involving in-state issues, while only state citizens can deal with cases that involve subject matter. And so, of course, our state citizens are going to be our core ones to creating our state court. And everyone who is fit and between the ages of 21 and 45, or as long as they can still pass out water or pick up a room or anything like that, they're eligible to serve as the Assembly militia. Plain and simple. Okay? Anna even has article, we'll come back to page 6, but it's Article 5021, Committee of the Whole, clarification for militia, but it also goes along with all the other pillars within the Assembly, is that you're expected to serve unless there's good cause why your participation is not possible or ill-advised at a given time. Now, that doesn't mean, well, my job, I can't do it because of my job. Okay, well, opportunities are given to say when would be a better time so that we can try and coordinate and work through that. Not to say that you're just stuck to make sure you show up for the assembly calls. No, in the meantime, though, you can be doing stuff to try and help support that. You can still not just listen to the recording playbacks, but then respond. Send an email that says, okay, I can do this and help with this and help with this, and then also follow up with, this is what I have done. Okay, not just a, oh well, I got an email earlier today. I'm all ready to go to the general education call next week, but I got this whole big question that I want to ask you to be able to help someone on an assembly call night. You got the email that the general education call, so I know you got the email as to when the general assembly call was. So there's a lot of people that are still, we got to course correct. We got to get our own status correction in, but it's also, you got to step up to help to do the work. Okay, and a lot of people are under the impression, well, that's the state coordinator. I can meet and hold her up and get all kinds of free info from her and still not present a lick of paperwork, and I'm going to help, I'm going to help, I'm going to help, I'm going to help, and never see them again. I mean, that's fine. We all understand life. But it's also part of being a grown-up is that you're able to make a commitment and follow through with it. Okay? And support it. Don't make promises you have no intention of keeping. Okay, so organizational goals. Hold elections for the officers of the General Assembly, International Assembly, the courts, and the militia. We've got to fill these roles. Okay, in order to, and we've got to have them, some majority of them have to have pro tem on them, but with the pro tem term on there, then we can actively start doing work. Okay, the actual work. This is not, we're not starting a role play session or an acting gig. Okay, this is we're actually filling in to start taking up the mantle, to start being the actual land and soil republic we're supposed to be. We got to make sure we get our chairman of the assembly. The chairman is a speaker, not a president and not a CEO. They've got to be willing to be able to hear what the people are saying, as well as make sure the assembly meeting stays in place, right? Stays within the guidelines of what's going on with that assembly call on the topic and everything, and is able to be that speaker for the assembly. Once the assembly is organized and functioning on all 4 cylinders, the coordinator position sunsets. In some states, the liaison duties of the coordinator pass on to the chairman. In other states, those duties are passed on to other assembly diplomatic officers. But in all cases, there will be at least one liaison officer who continues to faithfully bring forward information from and to transmit information to the United States of America, our unincorporated Federation of States. So between the state coordinator and the General Assembly chair, between one of the two of them, they will always still maintain being that liaison officer between the Federation. So, and as long as the state coordinator's role is in play, it's also one of the liaisons. Your coordinator is naturally a member of the State Assembly in your State of the Union who's working for the United States of America to bring your assembly into session and build it into a competent, confident, educated, and properly organized public body politic, which will serve your State of the Union and speak for it on both local and state matters and international matters. While working for the Federation, the coordinator will act as a state national and refrain from direct participation in votes concerning international matters. Your assembly is your instrumentality. This is what you need this is the piece you need to get. Your means to self-govern. You all have the right to self-govern, but until and unless you exercise that right by taking action to self-govern and implement the means to self-govern, that's your assembly, is the means to self-govern, your right to do so is a moot point. You must govern or be governed. There is no resting position available. So make up your minds whether or not you will be free and self-determining people or persons dependent on and owned by corporations that will be glad to tell you what to do, how to think, how much water you can drink, the amount of your yearly carbon deficit tax for farting without a license, and still not provide you anything of what they tell you that they're doing. Understanding this is not about plums and prizes, offices, or powers in the sense that corporations use and abuse these concepts. This is about serving your state, your country, and your countrymen, and fulfilling your obligation to self-govern. 90% of the nasty things that have happened to us have been at least in part our own fault, because we didn't pay close enough attention to the quiet and steady usurpation of our rights and our government functions by our erstwhile employees. We blindly trusted them instead of directing them. All right, so these are key points that we need to work on in order to support organizing our state assembly. All right, the next article, with Truth and Justice for All. Close that. We'll go to this one with Truth. This is a international public notice. She brings in here, in the case of USAID, less than 10% of the employees were retained, and we suspect that many of them are in transitional positions that will help with the mop-up and then be released. The Department of Education has been dissolved. This is rather unavoidable because it was being charged off to us instead of being obviously unconstitutional. So you can go through here and get, I thought this was important so that you can start going through here, getting a breakdown of how Anna is showing you the differences as to what's going on with this and what's going on with Trump and Doge and how they're working through this. But again, because I've gotten someone that had emailed asking if anything, none of this is actually, although we do receive some form of effect from it. It's not directly related to us, but we're going to have to realize there's going to be a lot of these subcontractors, NGOs, these so-called extra departments that are going to be dissolved because they are not part of the 19 enumerated services from the contract. Okay, Department of Education is never one of the 19 enumerated services. And it isn't even in any of the state constitutions. It's actually supposed to revert back to the people. So when Carter created Department of Education, he went against the Constitution, because that wasn't one of them. And while many of them are trying to pull it was approved by Congress and it was funded, that doesn't mean that it was constitutional. But that's where people need to look at why the Supreme Court didn't shut it down. So this is a good one to be able to go through, where Anna is helping you to work through some of the upheaval and drama that's going on within the corporation aspect. And also remember, Anna shared with us that that Trump sent out a tweet on January 4th, 2025 that stated that there was going to be a lot of people let go. And you'll see in that week's assembly call, let's see, it was January 4th, so it was that January 6th, I think was on, if you go to the January 6th assembly call information, you'll see that tweet information that Trump put it out January 4th, that there were going to be changes happening, that employees were to show up to work or they were self-terminating. So he gave notice all along. So that's if you're one that wants to get into seeing how, discovering all the fraud, waste, and abuse is being worked through. All right, then we have the article 5250, 35 states online with our prosperity centers. So, like I said, with the website that I've shown you here, I've got the link here. It says Prosperity Union, and you'll also find a post that I think I even had, I had also put a post here that was letting us know about it. And it takes you here as what did that do? Hold on. I gotta why does that not? But it's up here. I need to check that post. 211 Prosperity Union post to make sure that link goes there for you. And I do have right below the link, I've got a link has been added to the main top menu on this website, which you can see in the upper right corner. I want to make sure and check that link as to where why that's not going. Okay. Maybe it's
Christine?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a security measure in most browsers. You're going to have to actually go and copy the link and then open up a new tab and then open it up that way.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah, I did a copy, and it still goes there as well. But I'll go ahead and put it within the post where it's also the separate link too. Thank you for. Was that Brian? All right. Yes, thank you, dear. Okay, so here's more information about the prosperity accounts. Again, it is connected with the Global Family Bank. They're the ones that are presenting that. Okay, But it's also, like I said, keep your Shinola sensors on as well. We also need to have our treasury. We got to get our state treasurer. That's on our list here as well. Treasurer pro tem. We've got to get our state treasurer up. Okay? And there will be a background check with financing, and the Federation will also be doing vetting with that as well. But we've got to get that going ASAP as well, because then we can have someone that can then work directly with the Global Family Group on getting the training and support to be able to help us all with the Prosperity Union. Okay? And I'd put that information in here relative to it for the treasurer. All right. Again, just a reminder that the next call will be April 6th, Sunday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, same time. Just a brief run through of, again, we've got all the committees. I've broken it down as to what committees are needed and some of the things that they can be working on. So I need people stepping up to be able to get involved on the committees. Okay? And on up here, right here on page 3, these are the ones where you're ready to state that you're wanting to actually step up to support the Assembly. You're either as a state national or state citizen, your letter of intent to join the General Assembly. If you're still wrapping up getting last cancellation letters in and everything, go ahead and do the letter of intent and conduct of becoming an American State National or American State Citizen. And your participation agreement and affirmation of purpose and conduct for everyone. Whether you're going to, so that you're, even if you're not stepping up on a committee or serving in a role, that being a part of the Assembly is the participation agreement affirmation of purpose and conduct. All right. So again, I've gone through and put in the core committees and a brief of what the committees deal with and anything else that could be added in to help support. Here again is the Sheriff's Committee info. Here's a list, here's a link to a folder that the Washington Assembly, what they're using to send out. But of course the Washington Assembly does have an Assembly chair, so they're able to send out a notice from the Assembly as a whole to each one of their sheriffs. Once we have an Assembly chair, the Indiana Assembly can also do the same thing. That chair can then send out the notice, autographing the notices to send off to all 92 county sheriffs. But that can't be done until there's an General Assembly chair, and I cannot fill that role. Here on Litigation Committee, here are articles to be able to help us with how to, with nationals to be able to support the courts. If they've got a court case, and steps process to be able to help that, as well as the MOCHI process that's on the TASA website. When you go to chart your course, it's called MOCEE, MOCHI. There's also the due process training. Christy Leeper and Doug Minnick on Washington, they've been providing these due process classes, going through trainings, and they're great to be able to help you. Here's one specific training here that's a 6-week training and a download with the templates for it, as well as in their regular Thursday due process training call. Thursdays, 5 p.m. Eastern. Here's the link. Also additional, here's a presentation on helping with litigation support as well. All right. Also, some things to remember from militia CERT aspect for community emergency response training. There's an article or an email from Anna that she had sent out to the coordinators a few years back. So I've got the link to it there. But she's going through, here's for you to be able to help you in your home, a list of things to be able to support you with deadbolts on all exterior doors. Make sure you have proper signposts. Do not Z-tags. Do not trespass. On the Assembly website, I have for us the shop under ASN Tools, the signs of giving it where you can put your name and contact information. Here's the one that's an aluminum sign as well as a corrugated plastic, but it gives space for you to be able to put your name and contact information on that as well. Having a fire extinguisher and knowing how to use it. Flying your peacetime flag, putting the flag outside. I've got the peace flag stickers on all the windows with the Z-tag on each of the windows, and then I have the aluminum do not trespass on the right now. I just have front and back because I only have 2 signs, but you really should put them on all 4 corners. The corrugated sign is one that it's like a regular yard sign, so it'll have the aluminum holders, and then the okay, thank you, Susan. And then the aluminum ones have 4 holes, 2 in the top and 2 in the bottom. So the grommet holes are because they're aluminum. So I've got it set to where it goes ahead and puts those in for you. So if you didn't want to use the pay for the aluminum sign holder for it, that you could still be able to have a means to be able to attach it to something. Family plans for safely exiting the house in case of fire or other necessity, and not just have a plan, but you should practice it. You should have regular drills, at home of knowing what you're supposed to do and practicing that so that when a situation occurs, okay, you already know what's going on. Like we have backup candles already said. I save the cans because I do crafts as well, but you can then save your cans like your soup cans and things like that, and then I use those as candle holders to hold the candles so that we can have places to be able to when we need those. And I always pick up extra. You can always find box matches for $1, 2 for $1, even bundles of 6 or bigger ones for $1, to be able to have those around too, because you may not keep them in something that's dry, right? You also want to have a reconnect plan, how you're going to get together, how do you come together if something happens, what are you going to do if you don't have any phone service, what happens if your first place that you're all supposed to meet, what happens if it's just not there? Make sure you have somewhere else to go. Make sure you have a few routes to be able to go and practice it. Have a safety first aid kit. Here's a list of a round of tools, supplies you can have in it. 2 emergency blankets that reflect body heat for each member and for each pet. Adequate gauze, medical tape, saline solution, padding, enough to be able to wrap a few times and be able to do a few, not just once or twice. Band-aids, antibiotics, antifungal sprays and creams, Band-aids, even elastic ones for sprains, any form of a splint, any diarrheal medicine, laxatives, water purification tablets or straw water filters, like Life Straw water filters for everyone. safety matches, candles, needles, microfilament, paint. It's always great to have a sewing kit, right? You never know for sure, because a sewing kit, could also come in handy if you do have an open wound and have to create a stitch, right, to be able to close up a wound. So a sewing kit would be great to be able to have on hand as well. Cold medicines, antihistamines, and so forth. So and whatever it is that you would know, if you have regular prescriptions that you keep or over-the-counter things, you want to have a supply on hand, but you'll want to recycle those, right? You'll want to, because they'll only last for so long anyway, so you'll want to, every once in a while check everything in your kit to make sure everything's still good. Sometimes you'll want to check, like, any rubbing alcohol can sometimes, if it's laying over, could seep out, and then you wouldn't have it. So periodically you want to check these things. Having pure grain alcohol like Everclear or other forms of alcohol. Vodkas and rums, clear ones like that, really more like a vodka, can also help with as an to clean out the wounds, an antiseptic, things like that, to be able to help with that kind of thing, as well as having some of the alcohol is flammable. If you needed to start a fire, you would have that available, as well as it's also, if need be, as a means to trade, right? So some tips on that. All right, so we've got, so with changing the assembly calls so that we can be able to start, for more to be able to start coming to the calls, then I was able to set up for open outreach calls and general education to reset the time. Outreach is first Saturdays of the month, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, so I had the first one at that time slot for yesterday. And then next Saturday then will be the general education call for the month. Now I've set for March, April, and May, so that we can see how that schedule works for those open calls, to see if that works with other schedules. All right, that was all of the old business. Is there anything anybody wants to address before? There's one other topic I want to bring up before we end the call for the evening.
Hey, Christine.
Yep, go ahead.
This is Drew. I just wanted to clarify about the sheriff's letters and notices.
Mm-hmm.
You did say to send that registered mail, is that right?
You should always try to send it registered mail.
Okay.
Because then you have that tracking information.
Correct. Okay. Let me send. Oh, I just wanted to let you know, too, I have been handing out a lot of the business cards, and those are very helpful.
Awesome. Good.
Yep.
Awesome. And so if you want more, let me know. I can send you out more. Also, we probably are going to be getting close to where we need to replenish those cards to get more out.
Yeah, they're great resource.
Awesome. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, definitely, yeah, and let me know if you need any more.
I sure will. Okay.
Okay, dear. Thank you for that. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that leads into, I did get new cards done, and I don't know if you can be able to see, but but I went ahead and put a picture of it inside our agenda here so we can have it. Let's go a little bit bigger. Okay, here's one side. And this is so you can have, we'll start with this side. Whoever uses this needs to memorize it so they can state it comfortably. Remain calm, treat them respect. This is in reference to LEOs, and this is going to be a little card that you can keep with you. Treat them with respect, do not show any fear, and even though we are not subject to their color of law, do not argue that point, do not claim to be an ASN, do not argue jurisdiction. It's not the time or place to do that. The side of the road is a dangerous place for an officer, and he'll not take any crap, so don't be disrespectful or belligerent, and do not give him any reason to take aggressive action against you. You're just doing this to let him know that he doesn't have any authority over you unless they decide to take it by force. And then primary link. So this is the core of the card. So the back is your information, but this is for if you were to be pulled over or stopped to be questioned. You'll say, under advice of counsel, I'm reserving my right not to be compelled to perform under any contract that I did not enter knowingly, willingly, or under terms of full disclosure with my signature in wet ink. Furthermore, I do not accept the liability associated with the compelled benefit of any unrevealed adhesion contract. I've also been advised by my counsel not to answer any questions. And so then if you were ordered to get out of your car, you'd say, I do not consent to this, but I will cooperate under duress and against my will out of fear for my life, because you, sir, are armed with a deadly weapon. And then should they want to try and bring up about sovereign citizen, just politely ask them, do you know what a sovereign citizen means? And see if they're able to answer that. And if they're not, then you can help them to remind them that that would be serving two masters, and you cannot do that because you can't be sovereign and hold allegiance to something else at the same time. Okay? So I did a small run of this of 100 cards so that I can start inserting one or two in each of the mailings going back out to people so they can start having them to have it with them. I was also thinking about putting like the text portion in bigger letters and not including this over here, but still including all the links so that we have that contact for them, to be able to have that information. But don't look at this as like well, here's a card, I'm going to pass it to you and let you read it. Okay? This is just a tool for you to have something in your hand so that you can practice, so that you know some things to be able to help you, should you be put into a situation that you need that. Okay? All right, and I'm going to see about another, like I was saying about adjusting the design some, and I'll put that, present that out as well, and then see what everybody likes, which one, if you like one over the other or whatever, or if we have both available to be able to send out to people. So some things for you to ponder on and think about, and I'll hopefully hear from someone to respond, to comment about it. All right, I did go ahead and include Anna's articles for the month listed here with their links, so that'll be that's in there for you as well. Here was another one. She's had to remind again, the word citizen means obligation to serve the government. Many want to choose that they're a state citizen, American state citizen, but never show up for a call, let alone participate. So we have also in here the General Assembly. We went through a few weeks of reading the court case of Ex parte Milligan. So here's the folder that goes to all of the recordings and a PDF of that court case. We also spent a few weeks of reading through the Common Law Courts Training Manual. Here's a folder for those recordings and the PDF for it. And then because of that tweet that President Trump put out January 4th, where he was referring to the Magna Carta 1215, an article, one of the articles in there. I've pulled that original article. Did a reading for it, and then here is the PDF for it. So that's available. You'll be able to see the assembly schedule here. It's just going to take you to the website. You'll go to Indiana, hover over the Indiana Assembly and click Assembly Schedule. And that then shows you I've gone ahead and put Anna's info in here for her, reminders for her webinar. We've got the assembly call. We've got general education outreach. Then I've also included where there's an all states militia call that it's not creating and doing anything about building on Indiana itself, but and any dictating, but it's about helping to form and what to be able to do to help support it. Let's see. To get some of the cards, I only got a run of 100 to get started so we can see what they look like for these cards, or do you want some of the business cards for a regular and nice calendar? Yeah, the calendar back here, that's on the calendar up there is on the Federation's ASNsecure.com site, their store. To be able to get that calendar, and then this was a free one, if you're talking about on the website, is a free one that I was able to find to be able to add in onto the calendar, to give us a calendar. Free one is cool too, right? Okay. So so the cards that you're talking about, Susan, are you talking about the regular assembly business cards, or these new ones that is on the regular assembly? Okay, so you want a few cards? I can send you out some cards if you're wanting. Okay. All right, so that's the link for the assembly. Here's the recordings of past calls, presentations, agendas, and so forth for General Assembly. And so it goes ahead and has the links there for you. And then all the other calls, all the various different calls that we've had. And then here are the call times. And to go to because we have some things that will, like this call, afterwards will end up getting posted to, when you go to General Assembly, you'll see that it will get posted to iHeartRadio's feed. And but it is an audio only on here for the iHeart podcast feed. But if you go to our let's go to this, here we go. If you go into, click on one of the posts, then you'll be able to get the here's the agenda as well as a link, but you can see the direct agenda. Didn't end up getting it recorded last week, but it would be here as well. I'll show you a previous one. Here we go. Because then it'll have the video that you can watch the video as well for the assembly calls. All right. So that's where that information will be, so you can go back to it as well to see all the past ones. But it's also, if you're not able to attend the calls, but you are going to the recordings, at least reply, send an email commenting, I have worked on this, I'm helping to support this, I can bring this forward, things like that. Don't think that you can't do anything just because your work schedule right now isn't allowing it conflicts with the time. Don't think you can't still do something to be able to participate and help with as we're working through to get to where the time does work. Okay? All right. Was there anything anybody else wanted to bring up before we end this call for this evening? Joe? Oh, hold on. That would be okay. I'll get cards out to you, dear. Okay. All right. So, do we have who is willing to be our first one to motion to adjourn to April the 6th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern?
I will. This is Drew.
Hi, Drew. Thank you for motioning for our first motion.
Yes. I motion to adjourn.
Thank you. And our second? We need someone to give us our second motion. Oh, maybe it's in the chat. Hold on. Second, Wayne. Second, Brian. Second. I'm going to put Brian in, Wayne in. Okay, we got Brian on Elkhart and Wayne on Miami. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. No worries, dear. About Mike not working. Okay. All right. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? All right. 8:47 for the evening, and we'll have get my copy of the chat. Get the copy of the chat so we have it in here, and then we'll. Oh wait, hold on. So that we have it in there for the agenda minutes for us. Oh, I wanted all of that. Let's try it now. Okay. All right. There we go. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to come. I appreciate it, and I'm grateful that you are ready and willing and able to get this thing moving. And we'll see you on the next call. Peace and love. Have a great night,
Christine.
Yeah. You as well.
Yeah,
Stay safe.
Storm. Okay. Peace and love to you.
Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.